Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. That is still my email address. It's still in the description below. Reach out to me for purchase and pricing information about this or any of our watches. Again, for pricing, email me at tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a model launched in 2022, and it won that year's GPHG Tourbillon Watch Prize. But while we've seen this watch on the channel before, we've never seen it like this with a full factory bracelet. This is the Moser Cie Pioneer Cylindrical Tourbillon, 42.8 millimeters in diameter in stainless steel with a bracelet to match. The watch is 15.3 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, 51.1 millimeters. The bracelet does not project beyond the lug, so that remains the total distance across the wrist. And we've got a 22 millimeter spacing. Now, the Pioneer isn't associated with an integrated bracelet. A lot of folks would think of Moser's Streamliner when they conjure such a watch, but this, in fact, is the Pioneer, generally included with a strap. Here, we have an option bracelet, which is a ruinously expensive thing to spec new from the factory, but via the miracle of prior owners, somebody selected this, and you will benefit. Now, on my wrist, 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see the watch fits. Now, I don't necessarily think you could fit this watch on a wrist much smaller than 15 centimeters circumference, but the fact that the bracelet doesn't add any width is definitely good if you're a borderline case. Now, the watch is thick, but it actually has a pretty dramatically domed crystal and then a domed bezel next to that, so it will fit underneath a lot of cuffs, especially jacket cuffs. Here's your shot over the top one more time, and then down the barrel where you can really see that the lugs are not over the edge of my wrist. We do have a conforming end link to mate it better to the case, so there's no daylight showing between bracelet and case flank. And then there's a little bit of a taper down through the individual links, and you can see every single one of them is removable for precise sizing. We have the well-known Bracelet micro adjust, so you can see there's a lock and a rack underneath. And so it allows me to incrementally adjust the clasp and the bracelet to fit perfectly. Everything here is satin finish, and that works well as the finish of the watch overall is quite muted. We have the Moser coat of arms right there, and then we've got a little bit of a recess and coining on the profile of the clasp, and that's because we have the exact same on the flank of the case. Whether clasps or buckles, Moser bands always have some sort of buckle on them that represents a sort of a mirroring of the case design, and that's why you have those recesses and coinings on the clasp. We have a media blasted crown with a Moser M. It is a screw down. The watch is 120 meters water resistant. We have a rather soft bevel on the top of the lug hoods. You can see there's a little bit of character line running down the center on the satin top. The flank is polished. Then we have these recesses that are coined. Moser cases are first machined and then hand finished, which is how they get these excellent interior details. And the watch does have lume, not a ton because there's not a ton of dial, but it has solid blocks of ceramic based globalite lume, and you can see well how it has a sort of three-dimensional look in the dark. Of course, the Pioneer since 2015 has been one of Moser's two lines of sports watch along with the Streamliner. This one includes some flights of fancy that are not necessary for rough and tumble sports watches, but you will be happy to know that Moser is a rare manufacturer that makes all of its assortment parts, so escapement, balance, and hairspring. And they are one of the largest independent hairspring suppliers to the industry outside of the Swatch Group, which is quite impressive. You may have seen their hairsprings on, among others, MB&F. So what Moser did here was first they used a 1-minute flying tourbillon because there's no upper bridge to block your view of it. And then they built it up tall to incorporate a cylindrical marine chronometer style hairspring that has overcoils on both sides. So the idea here is that even more than a standard overcoil, a cylindrical overcoil hairspring has even more centered and evened mass, around 360 degrees. So in any position, as on a pitching ship in a marine environment, it has a very concentric and consistent breathing. So this is a tourbillon genuinely designed with chronometry in mind. It's not just eye candy like so many other modern wristwatch tourbillon regulators. So you've got that spectacular Moser-built balance, which is free sprung, so all adjustments are done using variable inertia bolts on the balance. It's a very modern and rugged and precise way of setting a watch's timing. And then you have the hairspring itself, and then there is the tourbillon carriage, which, being a flying tourbillon, has no upper bridge to brace it, so it needs a base that's that much stronger, and so you get one here, as we have a nice broad ball bearing with ceramic bearings on the bottom. And that's the idea. Hybrid ceramic bearings, no lubrication, no maintenance, super low friction, and with a broad base to ensure that it's not torsionally moving, it's only rotating. Okay, what else do we have here? We can see that the entire movement has been evacuated. This is the HMC 811, and all of the bridges and plates have been opened up. They're satinated on their tops. You can see they are equipped with polished bevels on their edges, these recesses. And then we have an anthracite PVD coating across the top to provide a nice tonal contrast with the silvery tourbillon carriage. And I can say that in particular, the beveling that you'll find on the tourbillon carriage is the highest grade finish on the movement. So if you look at the finishing on the tourbillon assembly itself, you get all the action on the dial side, and most of the time has been applied here. You can also see we have black polished screw heads with chamfered slots, and then beautifully satinated and beveled steel components, levers and clutches and springs for the keyless works. You could see the winding pinion, you could see the crown wheel, and then you could see a little bit of the MotionWorks intermediate system that sets the hands at center. Now, if you take a look, you can see we've got this convex fume that is smoked fade, funky blue metallic dial, and funky blue is an established Moser styling trope. Take a look underneath, you can see the open barrel. You get a better view of it from the back. The barrel's been opened up so you can see the coiling of the mainspring, which acts as a sort of informal power reserve once you get used to the watch. We have a bidirectional winding system. You can see here a triple finished skeletonized rose gold rotor, ceramic bearings at the center of this, actuating a bidirectional magic lever style pawl-based winding system that's bidirectional, very efficient, and highly shock resistant. The power reserve is 72 hours, and then the beat rate of the tourbillon is 21,600 vibrations per hour. And you can see there's this spacer ring that's satinated that sits inboard of the bezel that does a great job to visually unify the case with the movement inside, so there doesn't appear to be a disparity between movement size and the size of the vessel itself. If you love this watch, reach out to me. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this 120-meter water-resistant automatic loomed full bracelet stainless steel tourbillon.